Welcome back, Eric Hattie, Everyday Hustle. I thank you guys for coming back for yet another episode. We've got an awesome guest today, gentleman I know named Greg Rankin from SecuritySalesTraining.com, which is just one of like 6 or 12 of his endeavors. But just sweetheart of a guy. I probably could have gone another 2 or 3 hours talking to him if it wasn't already, after 10 o'clock at night, because we're both old men. So how's everybody doing? Everybody good out there? It's been a week on the up and up for me here. 2 things happened this week. The gyms reopened. Technically they reopened last week, but wanted to let some of the riffraff figure out that shit before I went. And my daughter's school opened back up. So uninterrupted work all day and uninterrupted workouts without the guilt and anxiety of getting back to the house because I left a tiny terrorist with her mother. So it's a good week, and it's fucking weird just how much getting back into an old routine really just fucking, nurtures the soul and changes your whole demeanor. I was just telling a good friend earlier today that the only caffeine I've had today was a little bit of coffee because my daughter's an asshole and got up super early this morning. And then my pre-workout drink before I went to the gym, which, I probably burned all of that out of my system before the workout was over. And that's it. Where if you or rewind a couple weeks ago, all the way to the beginning of quarantine, it was multiple pots of coffee, multiple energy drinks, and I was still just tired. And I don't know if it's just a natural high that's going to wear off as I get back into a normal routine of my old routine or what, but I'm fucking loving it. I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling pretty good. It's nice. And I know what some of you are saying is, couldn't you have worked out this whole time? Yeah, I could have, but I'm stubborn and I like the way I was doing it before, and I like all the bougie amenities of my gym. So fuck off. I'm back. So yeah, I hope everybody else is having a good week. Same as I am here. It's close to end of month for all my hustlers out there. I hope you're hitting your number. I hope you make the money that you needed to make. And congratulations, because the first of the month you start back at 0, and that's the world we live in. So yeah, we've got a couple more guests lined up for the next few weeks, and I've got some ideas jotted down for some good solo episodes and topics and shit that really grinds my gears. But yeah, I'm just I'm happy to be here. I've nerded out over the last week and figured out how to improve my audio, especially for those of you listening on your Amazon Alexa via Apple Podcasts. You're welcome, Nicole. You should be able to hear me much better now. If you're watching on YouTube, you noticed, well, no, you haven't noticed yet. In a few seconds, you're going to notice that there's a new intro video, which has some mixed feelings and some love-hate. And the artistic side is really to accentuate all the different sides of Eric. But it was also Eric downloaded Final Cut Pro and was playing with all the cool effects. So artistic, lazy, only you can decide. So yeah, no, it's good shit over here. Also a new end video at the end of the YouTube. I'm taking a page out of all the crazy Mormon families that have YouTube channels that my daughter's obsessed with, and doing an end video with, the subscribe button and up next and me talking to you, click here because you're apparently too dumb to read that it says click here. I don't actually think you're too dumb. I think the concept of a video telling you where to click is kind of pointless and insulting. Anyway, I'm babbling. I'm just in a good fucking mood today, guys. So yeah, Greg Rankin is up. It's about a 2-hour episode. I promise you, it's well worth the entire 2 hours. We're all over the place of ADD spectrum, but we covered a lot of good topics. Everything from marketing practices to building a consulting firm to what it means to be a good boss and a good leader. And all the way over to what would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? So just great stuff. Sweetheart of a man. I absolutely adore him. I'm looking forward to doing more work with him on his website, and inviting him back for more episodes in the future as well. So without further ado, my friend, Greg Rankin.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Right. No, you're doing it right. Like I have this conversation with clients all the time. Say one step at a time, right? Get the foundation laid first.
Right.
I had a conversation today with a client, new client that came in from, I think, Residio, and she's going, well, I want to do social media and I want to start posting to Instagram. So, okay, well, why?
Right.
that's fine. But what's the purpose? Because you think it's fun? That's okay.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Right. That's okay. But, if you're doing it for your business, but let's lay the foundation first, right? Because what do you want those folks to do? Because the website's messed up,
right?
For starters. So, anyway, so you're doing it right.
We had a partner that wanted to do promoted Facebook posts during COVID-19. And I was like,
right.
That's great. Let's go take a look at your Facebook. And they had like 2 posts in the entire life of the business page. And I was like, you're throwing your money away. And they're like, why? Everybody says promoted posts work. And I was like, dude, if I see your promoted ad, the first thing I'm going to do is go to your Facebook page and I see that you've posted 2 things ever. I'm not buying from you. In fact, you
right.
just help somebody else get the sale because I'm interested. Now I'm going to go find someone who I think is legitimate based on their web presence,
Right. That's exactly right. Then you get that old into stealing other people's Facebook traffic, which they don't understand because they got all that stuff going on. People know what they're doing. But that's what makes it fun for what we're doing, right? It's like right. You help them along. That's the fun part. It's like, okay, one step at a time and get them successful. Not that I am, but it's like do as I say, not as I do.
I don't know. Like I said, I was just looking through your LinkedIn and I don't know what your definition of successful is, but good Lord.
No, I just kind of dabble. When I said ADHD, I was only partially joking. Maybe not joking at all because I really am. But that's kind of, my style. I'll like, okay, shiny, so I go after that. But, I do things that I think are fun to do. And then sometimes they pan out and sometimes most of the time they don't. Right. But that's okay. It's like, I've been doing a lot of dead ends. And the Healthy Tennessee is frankly kind of one of them.
Really?
But yeah, just because, you got to, it's okay to do things that are fun. But what I'll do is I'll do something that's fun and I'll get started and then I'll get bored with it.
Right.
A lot of time. And then I'll want to do something else. Right. So
I'm super guilty of that too. Right.
Yeah, so, and there's not, again, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. As long as you haven't gotten other people pulled into it and they're relying on you. Right. For, once you've pulled other people into this program and go, okay, well, now I'm just bored. I'm not going to do it anymore. Right. You can't do that. Right.
So my wife will roll her eyes because when our daughter was first born, and I pulled my travel way back to be home, while she was, in the newborn phase. Well, all she does is eat and sleep. And so I was like, man, what am I going to do with all this extra time that I have around the house? And so I had the idea I was going to start a beard oil company. And so I did all the research. I bought all the stuff on Amazon. I was making sample batches and I built a social media presence. I built a website. And then 2 weeks later, my wife says, what are you doing with that beard oil company? And I was like, nah, I'm done with it. And she's like, are you right? Yeah. How much money did you spend? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like,
it's a hobby. It's like spending on a hobby, right? I'm like, right. It's like, I thought I would enjoy it. I pursued it for a while. Like I picked up, like you got that nice guitar back there. What is that? A Gretsch? Looks like?
No. So actually that's a custom handmade guitar from a company called American Archtop. It's one man named Dale Unger in Pennsylvania. and it's crazy. It was almost like getting a suit made. He took measurements of my arm,
Wow.
measurements of my hand, and it is custom built to me. It was
Wow.
my parents' graduation gift. Coming out of high school, I was going to Southern Illinois to study jazz guitar with a world famous guitar professor. And then
Wow.
6 months later, I dropped out of the music program, but
Yeah. Right. Because you just decided it wasn't for you.
well,
Something else?
there was no future. I mean, so I grew up in an upper middle class family. We so when I was born, we were absolutely, poor. My dad, bettered himself and bettered himself and bettered himself. And by the time, so when I was born, they lived in basically a double wide trailer. When I graduated high school, we lived in a 7-bedroom, 7-bathroom with an indoor pool in Minnesota. So I go to college to study music, and I have this lifestyle that I've become accustomed to. And I'm looking at these guys that are older than me in the program, and that they haven't left. They're hanging around
Right.
campus. They're playing gigs at the local bars. And I was like,
Right.
oh shit, this is this is not going to
Yeah.
pan out the way I
Not
want it
for
to.
Yeah. I want to stay in the, like you said, the lifestyle to which I have become accustomed.
100%.
Yeah, I hear you. I can totally relate. Yeah, well, that's great though. You can play. That is an example of again. I took up guitar playing way late. I thought it would be fun, and I did. And I still dabble at it a bit.
Sure.
But I'm like, what's that old song? I'm a generalist. I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I don't have anything mastered. I forgot what the saying is. Something along those lines.
Yeah,
So,
that's the beauty of guitar though, is you can literally just pick it up and play for a day, and you can play songs.
3 chords, and you're playing most of the
Shit.
popular songs today.
You can be Billboard Top 40.
Right, exactly. I like it. Wait, I know A, and I know D, and I know C. I'm good to go.
That's right.
Or A
I can be a
minor.
millionaire.
Right. Or I'm not playing Stairway, but I do a pretty good. What was Country Roads? I got that down. F was a killer. F always it gets everybody. But
That is a
once I
tricky
got
one.
F down, man, stand back.
Man,
And not baby F either. Full-fledged.
your F was like every jazz chord for me in college, because I was basically self-taught through high school. I took some lessons, in late high school. So I went into college on natural talent, and then I started learning from these professionals, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, natural talent's got
Yeah.
nothing on this.
Yeah, no, I've seen jazz chords. I mean, how do they get their fingers? It doesn't even look humanly possible.
It's insane.
Some of these
Well, and
chords.
that guitar back there is a 7-string. So it's got your normal 6 strings, and then it's got a low A, so that you can basically your 5th string. So your EA. So you drop that one down to the bottom string, and you can do walking bass lines in a jazz song.
How cool is that? Wow.
It's not cool at all. It's hard as shit.
It's not cool at all. It's cool to listen to. It was
Right.
a bitch to do.
I saw there was a guy named Bob Borgstead, who he's the reason I went to Southern Illinois. Both me and my best friend Kyle, he gave us the whole pitch that, this is the school you got to go to. And he played a 7-string, and I watched him do it. And he was modeling himself off of a famous jazz player called Bucky Pizzarelli. And I was like, I got to learn how to do that. And so I got the guitar, and I started, I was just like, I'm so far in over my head.
It's funny you say that, because before I started to play myself, I loved listening to people, great talented guitar players, right?
Yeah.
Then when I tried it myself, now I watch them, and it just pisses me off. Half of me is loving it, and half of me is just getting pissed off. I can't do it.
We're not so different, you and I. Well,
I'm really annoyed.
my best friend Kyle, I interviewed him in one of the previous episodes. He dropped out and went into sales. And then when he moved back to Minnesota, he went back to school and finished. He had 1 semester left. And so he finished it out in jazz guitar. That was what his undergrad was in. And he played at his senior recital, and I was watching it live on Facebook, and I got pissed off. I was like, I was pissed off because I was like, A, he's graduating, and I hadn't done that. And B, God damn, he got good.
Right. Damn it. Right. I know. Why couldn't I do it? If I'd have just stuck with it, I'd have been right there. It's like, no, probably not.
Bastard.
Either got it or you don't. And something. some things can be taught. So, I mean, yeah. But anyway, yeah.
So hi, Greg.
As you. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
How are you doing?
How you doing? Tell the internet who you are.
I'll tell the internet. Does the internet don't want to know who I am? Okay. Well, who cares? They're going to know. Who am I? Wow, this is getting real existential. That's a good question. I should have thought about that. I do my 30-second elevator pitch, but I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to say that I'm an explorer,
Okay.
a learner, and a mentor is what I like to think of myself as. But I think I've evolved into being a kind of just a life explorer, just interested, a learner, love to learn from folks, learn about folks. Right. And, I'm at the age now where I just want to go see stuff, experience. It's all about experiences, right? Not about, so in a nutshell, it's not about stuff for me. It's about experiences.
Right.
I think that's what we're talking about, right? Which is why I'm ADHD. Like I've had that experience, now I want to go have another one.
Right.
It's like, yeah. So,
hi
internet. That's who I
am. so Greg Rankin, I've only known Greg for 3 weeks, 4 weeks now.
Going on, yeah, and you're still here. It's shocking.
So
here's the longest friendship.
What blows me away is we had an intro call before I did a video cast for one of your projects, and we booked it for 30 minutes, and we could have talked for 2 hours. We instantly clicked. I went and watched the finished product of the video cast, and your captions were just cracking me up. And I was like, this guy has the same drive that I do, the same sense of humor that I do. Like, you might as well be my long lost father for all I know.
Well, I was hoping you'd say brother, but I'll take father. We shouldn't say grandpa.
So right before we started this, I pulled you up on LinkedIn. And so internet here, if you want to see a star-studded background, you got a master's degree in marketing and an MBA in marketing and finance from Cal State Fullerton. You are a professor at the University of Phoenix. You have been for 18 years. You are the founder of securitySalesTraining.com for 29 years, going on 30. CEO of Security Marketing Resource. You're the CEO of 21CM Integrated Marketing. And most recently, the last almost 2 years, you've been the executive director of Get Healthy Tennessee. And holy shit. I mean, that like, people are like, what do you do, Eric? And I'm the director at Brings Home Security, and I have a podcast that 40 people listen to. Like, and done.
Well, for folks that know me, we can put that into perspective. It's ADHD. That sounds like a long litany of impressive achievements, but
almost 30 years on three. Well, on two of those. Three. So, and then teaching at University of Phoenix for if your tenure at University of Phoenix was a person, it could vote.
That just means I'm older than dirt, but that's they haven't caught up with me yet. So it's only a matter of time.
So what is 21CM?
Well, 21CM in a nutshell is kind of, I call it the mothership, for lack of a better word. It's, we've, I do a lot of work in the security industry, but for the most of our business is outside the security industry.
Right.
So 21CM is, I'm going to call it a virtual organization, and I'll explain that briefly, what that means. So my role at 21CM is to help our clients with strategy, with planning, with tactics, right? With goal setting, that sort of thing. So, kind of higher level strategic, mapping of what you want to do, right? Because these days there's so many different elements of what goes under the umbrella of marketing, a lot more than when I got my MBA, many decades ago.
Right.
It was much simpler then. In terms of number of tactics you can bring into play. As we talked about before, there's so many different things that can be done that there's no way that you can know everything,
right?
And specialize in everything. So basically, and when I say it's a virtual company, I mean, basically it's me and a couple of other folks that are actually basically full-time. And then what I do is I go out and I've found people to pull in at the right point and the right time for a particular client to do things like if they want social media marketing, which we were just talking about, right? you see, so at what point does the social media marketing come in, and what form does that take, to what purpose? And then you bring the right people in to join the team at that point to do that. So that's what 21 CM is basically, is a guide, a kind of a guiding light, I guess. I like to think of it that way.
Okay. So I'm jealous because in 2011, 2012, I started a consulting company called Executive Business Strategy, EBS for short. And for some reason at 24, 25, I thought it was a brilliant idea to start a consulting company because people would listen to what a 24-year-old had to say about the wireless industry. And I did it fresh out of a divorce with no money to my name. And I'm jealous because I made it work for a little over a year. And I was just, I couldn't find enough work, and the work I was finding wasn't paying what I needed it to pay. So the fact that you've made that go as long as you have, hats off.
Well, let me ask you, let me try not to become the interview a little bit. So why do you think you weren't able to find enough business? Because you paid for it?
Yeah, I think age, lack of experience, though the experience I had at that age was well beyond any other 24 or 25-year-old. I think there was some ageism there, and I absolutely think that my target market was so narrow. My niche, I worked for a big company that was the second largest authorized retailer for Verizon. They had over 1,000 locations. And so my premise was, I'm going to go find little mom and pop 1 to 5 location owners and teach them how to operate like a big business on a small business budget, because it was absolutely doable. And I had the know-how because I went from the large company to a smaller sub company that was basically greenlit for 50 locations. When they folded, they had 25. And they folded because of the owner's mismanagement of funds, not because of inability to succeed. So, but it was just such a narrow window, especially, in Texas, cause I wasn't doing it virtual. I was doing very hands-on, training the staff, training the business owners, the management. And so I was driving out to BFE, Henderson, Texas, Canton, Texas, Terrell, Texas. I was out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just, it was not sustainable.
Okay. Yeah. So you were having trouble scaling it because of all the travel part of it.
100%.
Part of the,
if this was now with things like Zoom and FaceTime and whatnot, I probably could have taken another swing at it and been not full scale, but much more successful.
Right. Well, yeah, without a doubt. In fact, in my early days, I would go in places like ISC, local regional shows, right? Because back in the day, it was live seminars. Right. You had to go and travel and get all that stuff going on. And I don't do any of that anymore. Like, I always get people asking, you coming to ISC? Nope. Coming to ESX? Nope. For nothing wrong with ISC. And by the way,
sure.
Like George DeMarco and I have known each other for a long time. He'd probably deny it, but great people running those, and they're good. I mean, they're great things. But like you said, with everything else going on, you get more done this way.
Yeah.
At least for my style, which is part of, when I communicate to folks, be yourself,
right?
Be you. And if going to ISC and ESN driving, and I still talk to sales trainers, say, well, I need to be face to face with people.
Right.
I need to be out there with them. Great. Well, then do that. I'm not, I never say I'm prescribing, like, I've got the success formula down. I've got some of the elements of the success formula down for me.
Right.
But be you. If it works for you to go and drive and be in front of people then do that.
Right.
Do what makes you happy and fulfills you, So, but you're right. Yeah. The technology which is why I'm saying, like, I got an MBA, but I wouldn't probably pursue one now today.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. Why go get you, plus it didn't cost, $150,000 to get one back then.
Yeah.
It cost me $1.50.
It's funny because, and I've never been very vocal about it, but I'm a college dropout. I did 3.5 years of college. I was a music major that changed to a business major that changed to a speech comm major. And 3.5 years in, I had 3.5 years to go because of all the major changes. And it happened right at the 2007, 2008 economic collapse. I was watching all of my older friends come out of school and not get jobs because they didn't have experience. And so I had a hypothesis that I could go to a large company, start at the bottom and hustle my way to the top faster than they could, regardless if I had a degree or not. It worked for me, but I would not recommend it. And it's funny because that piece of paper automatically puts you to the top of every stack of resumes, whether you have it or not. Or well if you have it rather.
I mean, there's still, there is still some truth to that. You know, I'll give you my own daughter as an example, right? She struggled in high school.
Yeah.
Not because she's dumb, because she's not taking off her dad, but super smart. So she was bored, right?
Yeah.
So back when I was in high school, I was bored too, but we had to do it. But what we found out was that she could test out of high school.
Yeah.
And get out. So she did. She tested out at the age of 16 and went on to college and took some classes. And then she decided college wasn't for her either. That also bored her because she didn't like the structure.
Right.
So now she's, in fact, we're moving back to California here shortly because she got this big promotion at the age of 24 to go work for this big property management real estate company.
Yeah.
Back in Sacramento. And and so you don't need that. You don't need those credentials anymore. If you know your stuff and you present yourself well, which she does, you stand out right there because when she interviews, you know, even college graduates, and trust me, not to pick on anybody, but as you said, I do a little teaching at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
And it is shocking. It is really shocking how unprepared most of these folks are, you know, as far as the real world is concerned.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, and again, it depends on the company, but if I'm interviewing these people and I interviewed somebody that's sharp and knows what they want, and you know, they're going to get the nod from me.
Yep.
Unless some corporate entities require me to tick the box that they have. But that's kind of going by the wayside because companies are recognizing they're losing out on great people.
Yeah.
When they make that a roadblock to, you know, they put themselves at an unnecessary disadvantage by creating artificial roadblocks for good people.
Yeah.
So that's my message to them, which is one of the reasons I haven't had a real job in for a long time.
But you know, it's funny though, is every job I've had is never been because I was picked from a stack of resumes. It was because of somebody I knew.
There you go. Right.
You know, so, and I my friends that were in fraternities and sororities, that's such an advantage. If you were to go to college for nothing other than the frat life, both the fun extracurriculars, but then you walk out and you have this whole book of business of people that you can call up on, and you're automatically, you know, one foot in the door. It's crazy, but it's all about networking.
It absolutely, I 100% agree with that. It's about relationships, right? It's about, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. There's a whole lot of, there's a reason there's a saying that goes like that because there's a lot of truth in that.
Right.
Right. So, you know, if you focus on other people and help them succeed, they're going to want to help you succeed and vice versa. You create that network. There's no beating a network, those referrals and who you know, right?
Right.
If you're, it's like sales. I think that's a direct, you know, metaphor, analogy. I always get those messed up. But so like, you want to do a stack of resume, that's like cold calling.
Right.
Right. Or you can get a referral. That's like network, you know, you want to get referral business or do you want to go out there and cold call?
Yep.
You know, all day and do it either way it works, but which way is easier and which way are you going to get where you want to be faster?
There are some people that can just make a really pretty resume and some people that can just interview really, really well. And both of those, they get into the role and they just flop, you know?
Right. And right. And people you recognize that, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'll hear that story. Great interview. What happened to the guy that I interviewed? Right? So that's why you look at track record. You look at what people have actually done, you know, and you also, if somebody that you respect refers somebody in, you know, you're going to go with that, right?
Every time.
Because, you know, that person's putting their reputation on the line. You trust them. So by default, you know, it's like what they call the halo effect. Right. Right. It's like if he likes him, then I like him too. He's good enough for Eric. He's good enough for me. Like if you referred to someone to me, right? So this is a good guy. You should talk to him. I'd talk to him in a heartbeat.
Right.
And if there's something I could do with him, I'd do it. Right. Versus like, why would I go out now at this stage or at any stage and even like go on, monster.com.
Right.
And put when you know a bunch of people, say, hey, send me, who do you know that does this?
Yep.
Somebody I know knows people that do that. So it came up today, somebody, I'm looking for social media people.
Yeah.
Right. And she brought it up, said this person does this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, great. I'm having a conversation with them tomorrow and probably bring them onto the team.
Right.
Right. Done deal.
That's what it's all about. It's funny because, I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day about not burning bridges with anybody you've worked with, you've been acquainted with, and I always give the example. Do you know David Garza? He's the VP of direct sales at Brinks.
I'm gonna say, yeah, Dave. No.
So David was the director at Dish Network when my consulting firm also had a contract to sell Dish Network on the side. It was part of my maximize your revenue as a cell phone store owner and sell these people in rural markets TV as well. And
right.
So I had a meeting as owner of Executed Business Strategy with David Garza saying, I have this business plan. I need some MDF funds and you're my guy. And when EBS folded up, he was one of the first people that called me and he goes, man, I've got a place to work for me at Dish. You should come talk. And went, 3 rounds of interviews and he ended up not hiring me. And it was all this soul searching, like, what did I do? And then, I was pissed and I was angry. My last interview with that guy was almost 3 hours. And I was like, you're going to interview me for 3 hours and you're not going to hire me? To hell with you.
That's weird.
And I wanted to like tell him off and I was like, no, take the high road. Well, fast forward 2018. It was funny timing. I was at a point in my gig at that time where I was just fed up. I was frustrated. I'd just been passed over for a promotion based on nothing but the other guy's tenure. And I'm sitting there, I'm sulking and my phone rings and it's David Garza. And he goes, dude, I'm trying to change the security industry. You got to come work for me. And I was like, man, I've played this game with you before. And this time I was in there for not even 15 minutes, had a job offer. And I was like, man, I'm so glad I didn't tell that guy where to stick it.
Right. Yeah. You have to pick your battles, right? It's funny you say that because I'm going to, maybe I'll probably oversharing as usual, but way back when I read it, I forgot whose book it was. It was a really good book. It was about a consulting business, right? Finding clients. And one of the first things he said was, the first thing you got to do is fire a bunch of your clients.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of them. I'm like, well, that makes no sense.
No.
Why would I want to do that? Right. And his point was, and it's been proven out for me over the years, is that because they'll suck your soul. A lot of them, right? They're a pain. They're not fun to work with.
Yeah.
Right. They're hard to collect money from. They're just not fun to work with. Right. So I had one client. So finally I did it. I had a client, just read me the riot act. Was just give me. So I was like, you know what? I don't think this is a good fit anymore.
Yeah. And
we need to be done. And this was a guy out of California who was in a fairly high placed position with in an association. I'll put it that way. And knew a lot of people, right? Well connected. And it just took him aback. He'd have been a client for since I started. And so anyway, he was, who says that to clients? Say, we're done. I'm not working with you anymore. And so anyway, and so that was a chunk of change, but I sucked it up and did it. But man, what a weight off my shoulders when that client went away. And then I realized for me, and again, I'm not prescribing this to anybody. I'm not recommending it to anyone. I'm just telling you what works for me, is that I got to the point now where, and I don't do it because somebody looked at me cross-eyed, but I'm pretty quick to pull the trigger on a bad relationship,
right,
personal or business, right? So, and not to do it unprofessionally, you do it professionally.
Sure.
I just say, I'll say, it's probably not a good fit for us anymore. I wish you all the best. And, whatever I can do for you on the way out the door, I'm happy to do it, So, and I do recommend, I say, look, have positive people that are like you in your sphere, and people that are soul sucking pains in the ass, for lack of don't be afraid to cut them loose.
Right.
Really, because you can attract the right kind of people, and the right kind of clients, and have a lot more fun at life than dealing with the folks that are just not fun to deal with, if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
So I burned a lot of bridges.
No, it's funny because, and maybe it's part of getting older, but, in the last 4 or 5 years, that absolutely applied to, friendships and acquaintances. Like, why am I hanging around with all these negative people? Why am I hanging out with all these drunks? Why am I, as soon as I removed that aspect of my life, my focus got better. My whole demeanor changed. I mean, it was insane. And part of that too is having a kid and never getting to leave the house. But
right. Yeah. That helps. Right. Right. And I think that's true. People are, a lot of people are pretty quick to do that in personal relationships. I say do it in business relationships too.
100%.
Right. Because even if you're, there's an old saying, if you don't like your circumstance, change your circumstance. Right.
Yep.
So people, I got to pay the bills. I kind of get stuck. It's like, well, figure it out then, because if you're not excited to get out of bed every day and do what you're doing, then you need to do some soul searching and say, okay, why am I here? If you need to be elsewhere, go put yourself elsewhere, because otherwise months go by, years go by, and you're as old as me going, oh, wow, that was not fun.
Right.
Not that every day is fun and exciting, you know what I mean? But
sure.
And again, everybody's different. I'm not prescribing anything, but to me, it's about freedom and the ability to make your own decisions and make your own choices in life.
Yeah.
And one reason that I just decided years ago not to have a boss anymore, it was just because, again, a lot of great bosses, a lot of them are, good fits for a lot of people.
Sure.
So don't get me wrong, but sometimes they're just not, if they're telling you, where to go and how to go there and what to do and how to do it, especially if they've hired you to do something, then I would suggest that's not a good fit for you.
Right.
So like even today, I had a guy, and again, not naming it, I don't give out too much information so people go, hey, he's talking about me. I don't want that to happen. But it had a sales trainer for a pretty good sized company.
Yeah.
Who was going to get involved with SST and do what we did, kind of do a video cast and kind of, talk about, right. So he went to his boss, but I said, nah, you can't do that. And I thought, I don't think his boss really knows what we're doing, but maybe he or she does, and they don't get what. Anyway, they got really legitimate reasons. I'm not sure. I have no idea what the reasons were. It might be perfectly understandable, but I thought it just reminded me. It's like, wow, that wouldn't work for me.
No.
If I want to do something, I want to do it.
Yeah.
If I want to go talk to somebody and do an interview, I'm going to go do that. I don't have to go it's like checking with mom and dad. Hey, can I have permission to? No, can't do that.
Yeah.
But again, if that's just me, right? I'm just talking about it's like at the end of the day, it's about freedom and the ability to make your own choices, and live life on your own terms.
Hey, you son of a bitch. The only person I answer to is my wife.
Damn right. But yeah, I got rid of 3 of those because that's how, where I am. Well, 2.5, which I'll explain later.
We're not so different, you and I.
You got to watch it. You're still married. Yeah, I don't want you come back to me and go, I was married happily and now you've screwed things up. I especially don't want your wife mad at me or Judy.
No.
Worse.
It's funny. You talk about bosses that are a good fit. I've worked for other people more than I've worked for myself in my career thus far. My previous gig, the one that I was just telling you I was super frustrated with and they had passed me up, I had probably the greatest boss I've had to date. And I've had some great bosses, don't get me wrong. But the guy's name is Chris Kennedy. He long story short, he hired me because he knew me from when I was working with a DirecTV dealer and he was my account rep. And he called me up it was the damnedest thing. Another day I was frustrated. I was just want to pull my hair out. My phone rings. It's Kennedy. Hey man, what's up? He goes, hey, let's meet for coffee. I'm getting promoted. I need to backfill my position and you're my guy. And I was like, holy shit, let's go. So, every red flag in my career was perked up. This guy had the territory for 9 years. He, is he going to be willing to let that go? And for the first couple months, it was everything I was afraid of. He was breathing over my neck. He was calling, accounts, just to check in on me and make decisions without me. And so finally I sat him down and I said, "Hey dude, I want to do good and I want to be the best guy on your team, but you got to let me do it." And that was maybe 3 or 4 months in, and the next 4 or 5 years I was there, it was the best relationship ever, because he was that boss that said, "I need you to get from point A to point B, and I don't give a shit how you do it. Just make it happen. I don't care what you're doing. I'm not going to micromanage. I don't care how you schedule your time. All I care is that you get to point B." But then he doubled down and he would say, "If you're struggling, reach out. I'll teach you, I'll coach you, I'll mentor you." That dude taught me how to network and prospect and biz dev like no one else could. It was insane. So power of a good boss is everything. And I would have stayed at that company for years and years and years had I been able to progress up the change. Because like you, I get bored.
Yeah, right. What you hit on the key things that sadly, the vast majority of quote unquote bosses miss the point. They're not there to micromanage. If you feel the need to micromanage someone that's working with you, I don't say for you, working with you.
Yeah.
Then you've got the wrong person in that position, right? You have to assume, because then you're basically telling yourself, I made a mistake putting that person in that job because I have to basically do most of their job for them, micromanage them. I don't trust them.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Well, then if that's the case, like you said, then what I need to do is mentor and coach and support them. That's your job, right? My job is exactly right. I put you in this job for a reason. The reason I put you in this job is because I trust that you know what you're doing. In fact, you know what you're doing better than I do in that position. Smart bosses hire people that are smarter than them at the things that they're doing, right? Because otherwise, why would I hire you for that job, right? So then I'm going to stand back and say, you just tell me what you need. Yeah, we're going to have, like you said, get it from point A to point B. We're also going to have milestone checkpoints just so we can talk, but it's not for me to micromanage it or judge what you're doing, or just we have checkpoints and conversations about, maybe I have some thoughts and ideas I can share with you about how to help you.
Right.
And maybe I'll learn about, like you said, the support that you might need. Yep. That's my job is to help you. Right. And if more bosses would understand that that's their job and not feeling like my job is to keep employees under my thumb and micromanage the hell out of them, man, they would do so much. Everybody be happy and more successful.
You're spot on. I've always said I want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than me, because ultimately, if I'm surrounded by people that are smarter than me, it brings me to their level. And
there you go.
And what is it? Rising tide sinks or raises all ships. It's absolutely in a nutshell, just that.
Right. Reduces your stress.
Yeah.
Makes you more successful. Right. And that was something Steve Jobs said all the time. Right. Is he said same thing. I'm hiring people that are smarter than me.
Yeah.
Because I want to make my life easier.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you're hiring people, which is not too difficult for me, but hire the people that are dumber than I am, man, I just made my life a lot more difficult, didn't I? Why would I do that?
Right. Yeah. I just made more work.
Right. And we're not going to get as fast, where we want to go as fast as we otherwise would.
Right.
Why would I do that? Right. I should be fired if I'm that kind of a manager or boss. Right.
So what do you miss most about working for someone else?
Team.
Yeah.
And my hands on the wheel, without a doubt. So, one of the reasons I love, like developing relationships like we're developing and with some other folks is that you get the team together, right? So when you're inside of an organization, the team's built in, right? So you've got the team. When you're working as right, you're working as a consultant, your hands are not directly on the wheel.
Right.
You're kind of in the, like a driver's ed thing. You're in the passenger seat trying to tell them what to do, right? So you miss having the direct control to make things happen. Like, with like we talked about with your dealers, right?
Yeah.
You know what they should do. And then you tell them, and then they go, "Yep, that sounds great." And then you kind of leave them alone to go do it, which we talk about. And then it doesn't happen.
Right.
But if you're inside that dealership, Well, it's going to happen.
Yeah, son of a
I'm
bitch,
right here
yeah,
every
it
day.
happens every time.
Right. So I guess it's that. It's a lack of direct, ability to control and the teamwork, I guess, is the two things I would,
Yeah.
Throw out there initially off the top of my head.
No, I completely agree with that. Well, and especially in my consulting role, I was a one man show. I didn't even have time to go get other people and bring them in. Well, that's not true. I had a couple of guys that worked for me on the satellite side, just selling Dish Network, and
Right.
that was a whole new level of stress because their livelihoods depended on me running a good business. And that scared the shit out of me. Like I never understood when CEOs and business owners would say, I'm up, I can't sleep at night because there's always something on my mind. And when I had that, and it was only 2 guys, that was on my mind nonstop. I got to make sure I make payroll. I got to make sure they're taken care of. I got to, it was when I folded up the business actually, so I sold my share of it to a silent partner who is still in business with it today. So those guys were taken care of. It was a weight off my shoulders. I slept like a baby the days after that.
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, I totally get that. Can I share a couple thoughts about that? Or just, so you had 2 salespeople, right? And you felt responsible.
Yeah.
For them, for their livelihood, right? So, and I hear that all the time, right? I have salespeople and I feel bad because I'm not feeding them enough leads, right? For starters, right? I'm not keeping them engaged enough, right? So, and that kind of goes back to, I'm not pitching SST, but that's kind of the whole idea, right? I was talking to a client today, and she said, well, she brought her son in, husband wife team, right? Brought their son in, who used to sell cars, but because of the economy, brought him into this. He lost his job and they brought him into this.
Yeah.
And I just started talking with him a few weeks ago, and she said, well, he doesn't know what to do with himself. We don't know what to do with him. He's just here, but he's not busy. He just doesn't know what to do.
Right.
I said, okay. And then he went into security sales training and went to the security sales mastery course. And I saw he took one of the courses and stopped. And I said, look, here's the thing. He needs to get back in there. Right. First of all, you need knowledge. You need to know what to do. Right. My point being that if you're a boss, you got to first teach these guys and gals what to do.
Yep.
Like how to be self-sufficient, how to self-generate business on their own without any assistance from the company.
Right.
And I give them a couple of analogies, like what the best, like an 80-90-10 rule, 80-20 rule, the best sales reps don't need or even want leads from the company.
No.
They'll turn their nose up at them because they got their own referrals and networking, all this high quality stuff. So anyway, let's get his ass in there and have him go through the program. And then I also have a program where I will one-on-one mentor and coach a sales rep, not forever, but they only need me for 2 or 3 months to get off the ground. My whole point being is that when you got salespeople, and this is where we so many of us missed the boat, teach them what to do.
Yep.
Make sure they've got a plan.
Yep. Make
sure they're working that plan, right? With your support, like we talked about before, support, coaching, tools, and everything else. And then have the right activity going on. They're gonna be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And then that takes the weight off, because otherwise what you're doing is you're like, she's feeling an obligation. Well, I don't know how to keep feeding him leads. Well, don't teach him how to. It's like I'm not a religious guy, but how do you give a man a fish?
Right.
He eats for a day. Teach a man to fish. He eats forever, or something like that. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I don't worry about that. Because if you got folk, and when you hire, again, there's a whole other conversation about how to hire salespeople, how to build a sales team, right? But the first thing is, you don't just hire salespeople, bring them in, and then just kick them out the door and tell them to go bring in some deals. Right? How often?
Every time, right?
Right? Does that sound familiar? That's like, okay, well, we hired you because you're a good salesperson. Go out there and sell. Right? So you got to give them a roadmap, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Because of course, a lot of companies, not just in the security industry, but all over, they say the same thing. I want to build my company, but I know I have to have a sales team to do that. Everything starts, nothing happens until a sale gets made.
Right.
But I don't know what to do with them because I don't have that background. Okay. It's not really that difficult to create business. It really isn't. Right. As you know as well as I do. Yeah. Right. So anyway, that's my long-winded 2 cents on what you were saying about, if you're, I would say as a sales manager, as a boss, if you're laying up awake at night, worried because your salespeople might starve. Yeah. If you don't support them, okay, then there's something amiss in terms of so where's the missing link? Are they not trained? Do they not have the tools? Do they not know how to go out and generate business? That's where we start.
Right.
Right.
So to my defense, it wasn't, if
that wasn't
no, my concern was not if they were selling, because the boys knew how to sell. It was, do I have the credit line available to get the equipment? Do I have technicians that can do the install? Is Dish Network going to find a way to not pay me?
That's another. Deals? So in other words, so if they're selling the crap out of stuff and you're worried about whether or not you can actually get the equipment, that's another whole kettle of fish, which I can't help.
Right. That's where I was praying every night that a money tree was going to appear in my backyard.
No, my job is to create those situations for people.
Right. And it's a great problem to have, because most businesses struggle to make the sale. Like you said, it's when you grow too fast, it's a whole new subset of problems.
That's another right. And we laugh, but that's actually it's where the MBA to me starts to come out. You're right. It's not just a marketing plan. You got to have a complete business plan, operations plan, financial plan, and those three elements all have to be in sync.
Yeah.
Right. So, because you're right, because what I tell folks, and it's true, it's like, we're going to not open the floodgates. We're going to do it. We do it in a measured way, though. I tell them, there's a lot of things we could do. We could really open up the floodgates where you guys get overwhelmed pretty fast.
Right.
You really could. And I'm not, and it's not because, I got some magic wand. It's just the basic fundamental stuff I know that works.
Right.
After you said, decades of being doing this stuff. Right. So, and you better be good on the back end, because then you just have a bunch of pissed off clients and salespeople.
Right.
Because you can't fulfill all the, what they're doing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You got to have all those elements in play.
So
and balanced out.
You never ask a parent to pick their favorite child, but of all of your businesses that you have right now, which one's your favorite?
That's an interesting question, because, and I will pick one. I won't dodge the question. It's interesting because it doesn't really matter what the product or service is. The process is the same.
Yep.
So I love the process.
Yep.
Right. I love figuring out the different, and every business is different. We deal with funding companies. We work with developers. We work obviously in the security industry. We work with software companies, and the process is always the same.
Yep.
Right. Who's the target audience? What's your point of difference? How you positioned? Right. All these different elements. Right. But having said that, I'm going to say the security industry is my favorite because, first of all, I think this is going to come out bad, but hey, we're just being open here. It's a backward industry.
100%.
Right. So I deal with developers and I deal with, software, and they're, again, a lot of them are not, where they need to be, but they're light years ahead of most security
they're
companies.
Business
right?
people.
And I'm only saying right. And I'm saying that now. I want to make sure I'm really treading carefully here, not because I care about burning Brit, but because most of business owners, security company business owners, small to medium size, come from a technical background.
Yep.
They came up from the operations side, right? Fantastic, great. I couldn't hook up a security system to save my life, right? But then they get to a certain point where they're stuck in terms of their growth or where they can go, and they can't go any farther because they don't understand the sales and marketing side, right? So I love coming in, and also because what industry is more important in terms of people's basic safety and security?
That's true.
Than the security industry, right? So it's fine, and people need to buy their heavy equipment, and people need to have their homes built, they need places to live, so that's all important. But
sure.
I gravitate to security for those two reasons. One, it's super important. Plus it's you have so many great stories to tell. Yeah. Good marketing is about good storytelling, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And we have so many good stories to tell about the success of what we do and how effective it is.
Yeah.
There's studies out there that we don't even talk, right? That we have great stories to tell. We don't tell them. When you go to most security company sites, what do they lead with? They lead with what? Product.
Yep.
And they lead with price and packages.
Yep.
And so that's another whole conversation. But so anyway, you asked a simple question. My simple answer is I gravitate to the security industry, probably because that's where I kind of cut my teeth after the insurance, starting with the insurance industry, but that's where I spent most of my time. But I just think it's where we can have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
If we can get some, even the early adopting companies to do some of the things we're talking, which we're getting there.
Yeah.
That we could really go gangbusters. There's no reason for us, for instance, to be being chased all over the map by the DIY companies.
Right.
For instance, that should never have happened.
Yep.
And it wouldn't have happened if we had been on our game from a sales and marketing standpoint from the get-go. Instead, we're being reactive, and we're not even being that effectively reactive. In fact, what you hear a lot of companies, as you know, they just want to abandon the home security market entirely because it's just DIY is kicking our, eating our lunch. So we're going to go just do commercial now.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it was the disruptors, and I think part of it was the financial model just doesn't make sense. And I'll speak for our own company. I mean, you look at our earnings report, we're paying more than the contract's worth up front, praying that customer's going to stay double the term length. And it's in theory, if this was 2000, that model works because those customers were staying on the station for, 10 years. And now they're either somebody's knocking on their door because they saw an older yard sign, they're opening up, Amazon and they're getting pitched on Ring. They're listening to a podcast and they're getting hit on Simply Safe. I mean, there's too much out there to keep somebody on a single provider for a long period of time.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with what you said. That's a lot of pressure, a lot of challenges that weren't there a few years ago.
Yeah.
But so counterpoint to that is right. A couple, not disagreeing with what you're saying, just kind of adding another layer to that.
Yeah.
So I was had a company share a stat with me the other day. Actually, it was AT&T and another larger company said that most people do not really want to do it yourself security.
No,
they just don't. Right. But they also don't want to pay a hefty premium for a professionally installed system.
Right.
What they want is a middle ground.
Yep.
That this whole do it together model.
Yep.
Right. Where you get the benefits of DIY, but you also get the benefit of a professional installing it. So you hear security guys all the time. It's like, well, we already know. I'm going to get into it, but we already know some of the drawbacks of DIY. I won't get into all those here.
Right.
But one of the things is you have a customer, especially a home customer, installing their own camera. They look, the angle's all wrong, or they put it in the wrong place, or the glare from the sun is blah blah blah. It's like, okay, they don't know any better.
Yep.
All right. Well, we should be educating them then. That's what your job is, right? If you educate people about what the difference is and why they don't want to do it themselves, but how they do want to have you do it, help them out professionally.
Yeah.
They're going to stick. Plus, there's this concept of customer lifetime value. Have you heard?
Oh yeah.
You probably heard.
Oh.
Right.
Oh
so
God.
When you say, okay, right. I'm sure that comes up all the time. We don't maximize the value of a given customer.
Yeah. There's
all kinds of new revenue streams that we can drive from an existing customer beyond just what they're paying on a monthly basis, with the upsells that we can do with that single customer. And I have this conversation all the time with clients. It's like, look, for instance, do you have an updated emergency responsible party emergency contact list that you're in contact with?
Right.
No, they don't do that. Well, that's pretty fundamental stuff. You got a built-in referral list that we work all day long, right?
Yep.
So there's a piece of it, right? And that's just one example of where we really dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And we have that built-in recommendation we talked about referrals earlier, right? Who's a better referral? Hey, we're protecting your mom and dad's house, and they put you on the list as a responsible party. We need to let you know what that means. So, so there's all kinds of ways to really, really go to gangbusters, I think, on the home security side, if you do these fundamental things.
And on that same point, if you do the tactics you just spoke about and work the referrals, all of a sudden the saturation of security customers gets out of that 20% that it's been lingering in for decades. And we're not just cannibalizing the same customers over and over and over. You're actually going and finding net new customers,
That's right. That's right. And in addition to that, now going to the cannibalization thing, another point is that most security companies, I think we touched on this before, take lousy care of their current customers. They don't communicate with them. They don't talk to them. They don't why do they go to Simply, or why are they buying home automation products through Amazon?
Right.
Because they didn't know, for starters, did they even know that you offer those things?
Right.
They didn't know, right? I just had a guy in Oklahoma I'm working with. He said, "Yeah, I get when a customer calls us up, I'll mention that we do this, and I'll go, I didn't know you did that." Go, that's a symptom of a real bad disease. They've got 11,000. They do internet. They're an internet company.
Yeah,
and they're branching off into security. And they've been doing this for a while, but they don't know their 11,000 customers don't know that they're doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that's sin number one. Like before you start going off and doing social media marketing and all this other kind of stuff, are you communicating with your current customers? What? Because it's the old song. It's always easier to sell to than somebody's already doing business with you.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is because companies in the security business do such a lousy job of communicating and saying that's a perfect example of opportunity to go out, and I have no problem. Go convert.
Yeah.
Go pick off these companies. Be proactive. And go get them, like the 3G sunset. That's another whole thing, where we're not communicating. Everybody wants to talk to their clients. They're going to be upset. They're not going to be happy, right? It's like, okay, but they're going to have to do it, right?
Right.
And what's going to happen if one of your competitors goes to them and tells them, "Hey, sorry, but you got to do this, and we're going to make it easy for you to do it if you come to us." And they'll go, "What are you talking about?" Well, it's possible. At some point, your security system is not going to work anymore. What are you talking about, right? You mean your security company hasn't told you about that?
Right.
No, they haven't told me about that. Right. Oh, well, that's a shame. Well, we're certainly want people to know about it. So would you like to talk to us about it? Of course. Like I just had that conversation there, like a company out in Temecula, California. They want to go after businesses, small company.
Yeah.
We're going to use that as, I probably should have said that out loud.
You heard it here first.
but nobody's going to listen to me babble on this long. But use that that's education marketing, right?
Right.
And that's why I like, circling back to why I like security. That's a story. That's a situation. And people are going to go, that's where you can use your knowledge to go out there and create opportunities. That's a whole, opportunity to go out there and get a lot of business.
It's funny because when I first joined, the philosophy was don't talk to the customer because they'll cancel.
Right.
And
right.
Why would they cancel? Well, they've never heard from us. Well, that's our own damn fault. You got to fix it at some point.
Thank you. I hear that all the time. They say, "Oh, well, they might if they talk to me, they might cancel." Right. Well, first of all, okay, what is that? Like you said, what does that say about you? Right.
Right.
And number two is, oh, well, they might have a problem I need to deal with. Are you kidding me? You should be doing something else. Really, you should not be in this business, in my opinion. Right. My goal now is to get you up personally out of the business because you don't belong here. I'm going to go find a company in your market area to go talk to your poor customers that are not being serviced properly.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have no problem with that.
I look at other industries, a lot of your e-commerce, I'm a sucker for a good Facebook ad, and 9 times out of 10, you click the ad and it says, before you can proceed, give us your email address. And so I put my email address in, and then wouldn't you know it, every single day I'm getting an email from them for months before I finally go, Jesus Christ, I need to unsubscribe. But it's that level. They don't even have me as a customer yet. And I mean, maybe it's kind of that reverse psychology. If I buy, they'll leave me alone,
Yeah. There is a crossover point. We get into that with the marketing classes sometimes. Like, I've got like this YouTube advertising company that I was kind of mildly interested, maybe bringing on board and doing a white label program with them. But then I just go to it and there's like, here's his ad. There's his ad again. Now you're just pissing me off. Okay? There's a fine balance. I'm tired of seeing your smirky little face. I don't want to see. I went in there and said, "Stop following me." So you got to. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It's like this is like the remarketing stuff.
Yeah.
This, like the whole thing. You got to know that takes 7 to 11 times of touches for people to actually end up a lot of times doing business with you. These are the things that. As a general rule, actually most companies in the industry, they don't understand that to that degree. But so much opportunity. And like that's what I hear when I hear somebody say, "Well, I got salespeople, they don't know what to do with themselves." I just go, "Okay, well, that's first of all, that's not unusual, but B, that's such a huge opportunity because I guarantee you, within 30 days, easy, they will be fully engaged. They will know exactly what to do. They'll exactly know who to go talk to and how to talk to them and what to talk to them about.
Yeah,
and be on their pipeline." It's not that different, and it's not going to cost you a bunch of money either.
Right.
It's just a matter of like mostly doing, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Is an example, right? So, I like to say you outthink, not outsmart your competition. You You can spend money, and that's okay down the road,
Right.
like even with SEO, do the organic search right first, and you can do really well with that.
Yeah.
Right. And then it could be, well, should I do AdWords? I don't know. How you doing with your organic search?
Right.
Not very well. Well, do that first. Right. Cause that's remarkably easy to do.
Yeah.
Is to get you, like, if you're at home security companies in, Sacramento, California, and you're not showing up on the first page, that's remarkably easy to get you there.
Right.
Right. And so why not do that?
It's funny you say that. So, right after my daughter was born, my wife says, I'm quitting my job as a teacher and I'm going to start a birth doula agency. And she had said for years that this is what she was going to do. And that the whole summer after her last school year ended, she sat at the pool on her laptop, and I was like, I remember going and having coffee with my boss and going, she's not doing a fucking thing. Like she's literally just going to be a stay-at-home mom. She conned me. And then one day, a few months later, she says, check this out. And she pulls up Google and she types in doula Dallas. Her website's number 1. Doula Fort Worth. Her website's number 1. Doula period. And she's like on page 2. And I was like, holy shit, how did you learn how to do that? And she's like, I don't know. I Googled it and I've spent a couple months just doing everything that I learned, and look, I'm really good at this. And I was like, holy shit. Like we need to like market you to other companies. You could be an SEO specialist.
Maybe I'll bring her onto the team.
There you go. There you go.
Again, that gets back to one thing I like about the security industry is it's like shooting ducks in a barrel, to be honest with you, like in most market areas, because most security companies do such a poor job. It's pretty easy if you bring a client on to leapfrog the companies that are already there. And then beyond that, it's great to be on page 1 of Google, but that's not it.
Right.
Okay. The point is you're on the web page 1 of Google. Why? Why do you want to be there? Well, because I want to get traffic to the site. All right. So if you get traffic to the site, you're going to be happy then? No, not happy with just traffic. Right. Because you can't go to the store and go, hey, look at all this traffic I got on my website. Can I buy this loaf of bread? That ain't gonna fly, right? You gotta understand the whole funnel, right? So it's about conversions and opportunities, and then your salespeople have to be trained to close that deal, right? And all that kind of stuff. So, you find SEO people go, I get you like 8,000 hits on your website. It's like, I go, so what? I'd rather have 100 quality people, targets that I want, right? That's converting,
right?
Than having 8,000 looky losers, people. I don't know what they're there for. So so it's interesting. I mean, and I think that's what confuses. We talked about this before. It's what confuses a lot of companies, and they shouldn't be. You got to take a step back, and say, look, there's a bazillion things. That's what I was saying earlier, from the jump. Marketing is such a broad, so many different things to think about, right? And people, so they don't do anything. What happens is, like, you're in the headlights and they just freeze up because you don't know what to do.
Right.
It's like, okay, so let's take a step back and let's do the first fundamental thing.
Right.
Right. And we know what that first fundamental thing is. And we know what the second there's always like the 4 or 5 things we always plug in first.
Right.
Let's do those 5 things first. Right. It's the same 5 things every single time. You might have one of those things in place, maybe 2, but you don't have all 5 of these things plugged in. Let's do that first. It's going to get you immediate traction, immediate results. You know exactly why we're doing it. It's going to make complete sense. Then we'll move to phase 2.
Right.
Then we'll move to phase 3. So just relax. Don't get all confused because there's 1,000 things you could do, and that's something I try. It's like when you go to therapy, it says, calm down. You don't need to do all that.
It's funny. Earlier, you said that a lot of people in the security industry are technical based. And it's funny because in my year of biz dev in the security industry, there were 2 very distinct groups. There were, I've been selling for somebody else and I'm a hot shot and I'm going to do this. And I've been an installer for X number of years and I'm going to do this. And it was funny because the guy who was a salesperson would say, I'm going to sell, next year I'll be, 500 activations a month. And I would just look at him and go, no, you won't. You'll be 40 to 50 tops. And they're like, oh no, fuck you. I'm going to, it's like, no, let's be real. You don't have a plan. What you are doing yourself is not scalable as a business owner unless you have a plan in place. And you got to have the finances in place. You got to have, the patience and the wherewithal. And then on the flip side, you had the technical based guy who I love and adore because they're like, I'm going to have the best customer service. I'm going to have, the most perfect installation possible. I'll have my loops in the line and everything. And it's like, cool, but you're going to sell 5 a month,
Right. Yeah. It's that happy medium.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
It's like, yeah. And it's about, you got, like you were saying earlier, you're exactly right. You got to have good customer service. Why? Well, first, it's the right thing to do. And second of all, if you want to get that full customer lifetime value and get referrals and get all these other things that come off of having a happy customer, you got to have a happy customer.
Absolutely.
Right. If you got an unhappy customers, you're going to be dead pretty damn fast. Right. Because the work, especially in a small market area, you're going to be dead in the water. Right. So, but yeah, you're right. So it's interesting. That's why, ultimately you want to have those two groups. I don't want to say they're not separated, not in silos, but they're integrated. Right. But there are, different. Like if you love spool and making sure that everything is. I've seen these spoke where they get. You've seen the which again I love them too, but like I kind of smile a little bit because they get so excited about this stuff. It's like they put a thing on the wall and it spools the wire really, really nicely tight, right. And then goes this. It looks beautiful. It's like a piece of artwork,
right?
And that's what gets them all jazzed up. Good, dude. You do that, but don't sell because you're going to get too tied up 100%. In the technical, details, right? And you're going to want to talk to a customer about how you do the wiring that way and how beautiful it looks. And only about 10% of the customers are going to give a shit about that, yep. And the rest of them are just going to think now it's too complicated, too confusing, and you're going to bore the crap out of them.
Exactly.
So you got to know who you're talking to.
It's funny because some of my most passionate employees back in the cellular days were the nerds, but for all the wrong reasons. They were so passionate about the product, but they get in front of a customer, it was just verbal diarrhea. It was, exactly. Oh, this is a CDMA tower and it does triple redundancy and it does this and it's got a Snapdragon processor. It's like, dude, they had you, or you had them at $59.99 a month. That just stop talking.
I love that you said that because I cover that in some depth in the Security Sales Mastery course. It's like don't do feature dumps.
Yeah. Don't
vomit features all over customers, especially after you've already got like you just said, if you already got the sale closed, right? Shut the hell up and get them and finalize the deal. Right?
Yeah.
How many times have we said they're all giving us the positive body language and that sounds really good. That's doable. And yeah. It's like, okay, let's wrap it up and say, well, hold on a second though. I got one more thing to show you. But no, you don't.
No. Shut up.
You can show them later. Show them later. Show them after.
Yeah.
You can still show it to them. But don't show it to them now.
That's what you cover in your walkthrough after it's installed and the paperwork is signed.
Right. Get this right. Bird in the hand. Right. Get that right. And like how many times you sit there and you just go, Jesus. But anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like that's the whole selling thing, right?
Yeah.
And you don't feature dump. You focus on, the dominant buying motive, whatever you want to call it, whatever the hot buttons are, you address those. You've already kind of pre-sold them before you even get there. That's another whole conversation, like the personal branding stuff that we went through in your excellent, video cast before. People need to circle back and go see that because that's like step number one. Right. They want to buy from you first and foremost. So by the time you get there, you're pre-sold. I mean, they might not even be talking to anybody else because you've got in the right way.
Right.
Right. Like how you develop your leads, how you get in front of people has got more to do with your closing rate than anything you'd actually do on that sales call.
Yep.
If you're doing it. Right. So by the time you get to the sales call, you're 80% of the way there. They're ready to go. Happens all the time.
It's true.
Like when I go into a thing and I want to go through the details of what we're going to do, they're ready to roll. They just want to know what I think they should be doing. And let's tie some numbers to it.
Right.
And then they're ready to go.
Yep.
Just shortens your sales cycle, makes your life easier. Your closing rate goes way up. You're dealing with the right people. All good things happen.
Right.
Right. If you're doing business development, right. Starts there.
Yep.
So anyway,
So a a question I didn't prepare you for, but it came to me earlier. You talked earlier, you've dabbled in a ton of different industries, and you consult for a ton of different industries. What's an industry that you really want to get into that you haven't touched yet? What industry just fascinates you?
Interesting. You're right. I hadn't thought about that. First I'm going to say again, it almost doesn't matter to me what the widget is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't almost matter what the product is, because I'm more into the process.
Yeah.
Right. It almost doesn't matter. Like I could, if it was silverware or,
right.
cutlery or rockets, it really matter to me. It's like going, okay, I could still go through the same process of, okay, who's the target and what's your position? How are you different and blah, 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 so, I'll tell you one thing. Let's go back to the music thing. And something I don't have up on the site, but and you mentioned you went to music school. Back when I was starting to dabble, I started the California Music Institute is what we called it. But I did have a guy that was a music teacher.
Okay.
That was a great guitar. I mean, you guys would have loved each other. But so I would say something creative, or so either like something in music, maybe musical instruments. Like guitar, I would love to do like guitars.
Yeah.
Right. Love to work like a Fender or a Gibson or somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then also, I love motorcycles, because those are my interests, right? Those are things you want to sell something you're interested in that you get joy out of. What would you do? This is the old question. What would you do if you didn't have to worry about making any money at it?
Right.
Right. Like, well, I would probably do motorcycles. Like go see if I could get Keanu Reeves to hire me within his his specialty motorcycle thing, because I love bikes.
Right.
So so now I had a chance to think I'd probably do something like do bikes, do motorcycles or something along those lines.
Scary how similar we are, because when asked what I would do if money was no object, it would be classic cars. You go. My dad and I, he is obsessed with restoring cars. He's self-taught. Always been a motorhead, and I've helped him restore a few different things, and he's big in motorcycles and cars, but cars are absolutely my thing. In fact, in a barn in Minnesota, in a buddy's barn, I have a 63 Lincoln Continental drop top that's waiting for me to bring it to Texas and have some place to put it and just start dumping unnecessary money into it. But I bought it fresh out of a divorce, and I got to a point where I was ready to bring it to Texas, and then I met my now wife, and then I got to a point where I was ready to bring it to Texas, and then we had a kid, and I was like,
it's funny how life does it.
It'll be there.
Well, you know what? We're saying the same thing. First thing you got to think about is what would you do if money wasn't an object? What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? Right. So follow that, now that you mention it, like, oh, maybe I'm doing the wrong, maybe I should be doing that. I think I'm going to go email Keanu tomorrow. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring me on. Yeah.
What the hell do you have to lose, man? I mean,
what have I got? Well, he might go all, what's that movie? He might
John
go
Wick.
Matrix something. Right. Yeah. I don't need that aggravation. Yeah, well, that's a great question, though. That's a good interview question. If money were no object, what would you be doing?
Oh, 100%. But it's funny because my second answer to that would be back to what you said at the very beginning of this is it's all about experiences. And I've always been fascinated with like the Anthony Bourdains and people like that, where they're just going all these different places, trying all these new things, immersing themselves in a million different cultures and meeting new people. And that,
exactly.
And it's part of why I love the world that I'm in, or at least pre-COVID was in, where I was on an airplane and I was going different places every single week, and I was meeting new people and chatting up people at the airport. And that fascinates me because I'm all about learning something, hearing a story, whatever it may be, but just every day is different. And as long as every day for me is different, then I'm good.
Right. No, we are a lot alike. In fact, I think I mentioned this in your video cast, what you're saying about traveling, meeting people, seeing things. We talked about the personal branding thing about, you've got erichaddy.com, go check it out. I've got gregrankin.com. And my whole thing is about, it's just really early stages. When I get back to California in 6 weeks or so,
right,
I'm going to be getting on the bike and travel in California for starters, right? From
That's
north
awesome.
to south, right? See, everything there is in California is, I've lived there for 50 years,
Right.
but I haven't explored on a bike before, but I'm going to do in fact, I just ordered a GoPro Max today, which will be here tomorrow. I'm excited about, right? And I'm going to be vlogging it now, whether anybody watches or not. I don't really, I care, be nice, but I don't, but it's about going around. Like when I go to Big Sur and cross that, that Bixby Bridge that then came Bronson went over. That's when all my you probably don't know, you're a kid, but that's how I can. But if people my age, they know what I'm talking about. But like you said, but that's about experiences, right? So if that's what you're passionate about, and that's maybe the lesson I'd like to leave folks is, if you're not happy, if you're not passionate about what you're doing every day, look, you're not going to be passionate and excited every single day. That's just not human. But for the most part, like you said, if you were working, you got the opportunity to work classic cars and do something with that every single day, you would be pumped. You would be totally fulfilled, right?
Yep.
If I had a chance to working with a company that was selling like custom motorcycles and vlogging across the country, and making money, be totally thrilled. So find a way to do that.
Yep.
If not, even if it's a hobby at first, and also keep your expenses down.
Yeah.
You don't need that much. Again, I'm not a prescription for everybody. Some people love the shiny cars and the big ass houses and all that, and the boats and the yachts, and great. If that truly makes you happy,
Sure,
go for it. Right?
I'm a little bougie, Greg. I'm
it.
not gonna lie.
Right. No, and that's okay. At your age, at your tender age, I was too. Right? and I had all the toys, right?
Sure.
I had all that stuff, right? And it wasn't helping me out. Like a lot of people say, well, it wasn't, I got all that and it didn't really do much for me. So I jettisoned all that stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of a minimalist, I travel light and go use my, the little bit of money I do manage to scrape together to go out and have my freedom and explore and do stuff. But to each his own, right?
Right.
And sometimes different stages of life, you're doing different things. Like you've got a young family, right? That's a different situation. You get an old codger like me who's got empty nest, deal going on. So, but the bottom line is, be true to yourself and be introspective and say, look, if you're not getting really existential, but if you're not truly, you hear this all the time, but if you're not truly not happy with your circumstances, change them. Nobody's going to change them for you, right? So
if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Who said? I wish I'd said that. I love it. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So it's funny you said, I'll take these videos on my motorcycle, and if people watch it, great. If not, I don't care. Well, I kind of care. So it's funny because in a previous episode, I made a comment with Chase Harrell where I referred to entrepreneurs on Instagram as like farmers. And it's not about, doing this for like Everyday Hustle, for example. It's not about whether people watch it or not. I thoroughly enjoy it. But then there's like that weird part in the back of your head that does actually care if people are watching it and that people like you. And I think everybody's got that to an extent. But it's funny because one of my employees, a kid named Ryan Cook, just a sweetheart of a kid, he reached out to me a few weeks ago and he goes, I absolutely love what you're doing, and you inspired me to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. That's great. And I was like, what's it about? And he goes, well, I don't want to tell you because you'll make fun of me. And I said, no. And he goes, well, it's a video game YouTube channel. And I was like, oh, dude, no, that's awesome. And so I bumped into him at the office the other day. I was up there checking the mail, and he goes, dude, I did a live cast and I got so many people watching my channel, and I'm thinking, oh, what, like 20, 30, 40. And it was like 400. And I looked at my real-time analytics and it was like 40. And I was like, you son of a bitch. I'm glad I inspired you, but how dare you do better than me?
You're fired. I'll teach you.
Inspire this.
Yeah, right. I think the reason that you care, and rightfully so, is that, and I know just from listening to what you've already done, and like you just gave an example of that you're providing information to change people's lives.
100%.
Right? Where if they listen and they take to heart some of the things you're putting out there, they're going to really be able to change not just their business life, that too, but their lives, the way they look at life. Right. Yeah. I think that's your focus. Right, is to kind of take a step back, and business is part of your life, but like what we're talking about now.
Right.
Okay, kind of like from an old codger like myself, for instance, if I could talk to my younger self, this is what I would tell him, right? But I probably wouldn't do anything different. Shut the old fart.
I fucking crushed it.
Get away from me, you creepy old dude.
Oh God, that's what I turn into.
I'm like, holy shit, what happened? Anyway.
Well, so it's funny you say that because we were in a car accident back in August, and my car was totaled, and I had to buy a new car, and I wanted a brand new Lincoln Continental to match the Lincoln Continental 63 drop top that I have, and it's an old man car, Greg. It's I used to make fun of my dad for having a town car, and he used to love that fucking thing. And I go and I buy a Lincoln Continental, and I brought it home, and I'm washing it in the driveway, and I wax it, and I look at it, and I go, 16-year-old Eric would have absolutely fucking hated current day Eric.
You know what I love about that though? The bottom line was, because people are getting, I think it's an old man car.
Oh, right? Yeah.
But you bought it because you liked it.
100%.
You loved it. And that's it. That's all that counts, right? You know
Greg,
what I drive?
if having an old man car is twin turbo 400 horsepower, then sign me up.
I'm in, right? Yeah, I'd kill myself in that 42 seconds.
What do you drive, Greg?
I drive what do you think I drive?
Oh shit.
Roughly.
Man, I don't even know. Like you're either on one, like you're either like a Dodge Challenger kind of guy, or you're like an Audi kind of guy. Or wow. Maybe there's like a dark horse Subaru side of you. I don't know.
I drive a 96 Toyota Avalon.
Shut up.
Serious as hell. I've had it for 20. I bought it 4 years old. I've had it for 20 years. Right. And I love that car. And I'm loyal to that. That car is never going. And that's because, you know what? I love that car. I just I like it.
Yeah.
And I know people think that's funny that I drive a 96 Avalon, and I don't care because I like it. Right. And I'm not, because that's another, right. And you said the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to impress anybody. Don't try to impress anybody.
Right.
Like that guy we talked about before.
Right.
Right. Where we're not fans of his.
Right.
Right. Now, again,
Grant Cardone sucks.
Having said that, if it makes you happy to drive a Dodge Challenger or an out or any other kind of, go get it.
Yeah.
Right. If that, right. So I'm just saying, but but you and I are very much alike. We don't care what other people think about the exterior, because that's also a screening tool. Yep. You don't want people around you necessarily where they're gonna judge you because you drive a certain type of a car, dressed a certain kind of a way. I would just as soon repel those people
100%
and attract people. They go, you drive a 96 Avalon? Those are great cars.
How many miles are on this Avalon?
It's only actually got 180,000 miles on it, because I'm usually on the bike. Yeah. So for a Toyota, it's like basically,
no, it's not even half life.
Right. Exactly. In fact, I was at a shop. Actually for a friend's car. I've never taken, I've had it for 20 years. I've taken it one time for some basic maintenance, and that's it.
Yeah.
And no problem. So I took it to us, and the guy was working on a BMW in the back, and I thought, BMW, maybe I should have a second car and just have a Beamer for some,
Sure.
So I said, well, what do you think of those Beamers? He's a mechanic. What do you think? He goes, he's old guy. He looks at me. He goes, we're in Nashville. He goes, well, what are you driving now? I go, that Avalon parked right out there. He goes, keep that.
Yeah.
It's like, he goes, they got a Toyota Avalon. You don't want that. He goes, if you get a BMW, we're going to be best friends, and not in the way that you want to be best friends.
100%. You might as well put him on your taxes. He's a dependent.
Exactly. Right. Right. He goes, I'm going to love you. Ain't going to love me. Because that's the reason that, it's in there. Right?
It's funny you say that, because when I bought my previous car, which was another one that I didn't give a shit what people said about it, because it was absolutely comfortable. I bought a Ford Taurus, it was a 2015 Ford Taurus, and I put 200,000 miles on that car. But I was at a point where all the same amenities were also in a 5 Series Beamer, and I could, pick one up on a lease for about, maybe $100 more, right, a month. And the guy at the BMW dealership, I said, what do you think? And I told him, I'm looking at this car, or the one you're showing me. And he goes, if you're going to lease this, you'll love it. If you buy it, you're going to hate me in 2.5 years. And I was like, well, A, I appreciate a salesman that is completely forthcoming, but B, thanks but no thanks, right?
Right. Well, you know, and I know people were, well, we were talking about a lot about cars. That's okay, because you know there's some lessons in here if you stop and think about it, right? But what you just said about the sales guy,
Yeah.
there's a great set, right? Listening and putting the customer first, even if it means you might lose a sale or you might not make as big a sale. Talk about customer lifetime value and trust and loyalty.
Yeah.
That's where your focus should always be, right? Don't worry so much about the short-term sale. Worry about taking care of customers. Now, you might actually lose a sale every now and then doing that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go elsewhere, right? So, but in the long run, right, you're going to be so much better off if your focus is always on the other person, whoever you're dealing with. Put your focus on them. In fact, I got put this in this. You know who Zig Ziglar is? Are you too young?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So, but Zig said, and I think it's the best definition of sales I've ever heard, is you can get everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want.
100%.
Right.
Yep.
Focus on that. Right. And they will look for reasons to give you business or send business your way.
So
I always all kinds of cycles.
I always called it the 1 to 3 rule. So in the cell phone business, I worked for Verizon, or I worked with Verizon, and we weren't the cheapest. We didn't have, you know, to date me a little bit, this is when you had to pick how many minutes you wanted, how many text messages you wanted.
Oh, you're older than dirt.
But we weren't the best fit for every customer. And I would tell people just that, you know, hey, based on what you told me, this probably isn't the best fit for you, and I was well-versed in my competitors. It sounds like you're a better fit for AT&T or Sprint. Well, actually, shit, back then it was Singular or Sprint or whomever. And my manager, when I first got into the cell phone business, he goes, "What in the fuck did you just do? That customer just walked out the door." Well, then lo and behold, like a week later, 2 people come in and say, "Hey, so-and-so referred me." And I looked at my manager. I said, "Hey, that's the person that referred them is the person that I walked out the door." And I said, "Okay, I'll bite. They didn't buy from me. Why did they send?" Well, you're brutally honest. You're gonna set us up and tell us, you know, what we should and shouldn't get. And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." But on average, every one sale I walked out the door brought me 3 sales in return.
I love that, the 1 to 3 rule, and I think that's pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me, but I think that's right, because yeah, are you going to get people that like we said, they might not buy it from you right now, but that's coming back to you, right? Yeah. And it might not be today or tomorrow, but that consistent putting other people first, is going to, I guarantee. In fact, there's a book, you know, everybody's heard the expression, the go-getter. He's a real go-getter, right? Wow, he's a go-getter. And in fact, I've had this approach for a long time, and somebody wrote a book. I should have, damn it. But anyway, it's called The Go-Giver. And
shit.
That's the focus point.
Title.
And it's instead of being a go-getter, be a go-giver.
I love
it. And give, not, you know, yeah, you got to make money, but you know, basically you read the book, go get the book, because it's an excellent book. It talks about this whole concept about putting other people first, putting things out there like you're doing with the podcast. Yeah. Right. You're not getting paid for this, but you're putting good information out there, helping people out. Right. That's what it's about. So as you're doing that, and trust me, I know from personal experience, by doing that, you get more business than you can handle. 100%. Coming back. People look for reasons to work with you. They want to work. They like you. They appreciate it. You listen to them. You take them under your wing. They're going to find reasons to. They want to be your client. Right. They want to be your customer. Right. So they're going to figure out a way to do that, with your help. Right. But if you do that, it's like so much better than, you know, when I do sales training, like if I put your hand up, let's see if we can do this virtually. Okay. Now I'm going to push on your hand. What do you get? Like I'm pushing on your hand. What's your hand going to do?
It's going to go back.
It's going back, right? It's got to, right? Now, if I was pushing and I suddenly released the pressure, and what would happen to your hand?
I push back.
You start to come towards me, right? Yep. So we do this in sales. I bring people up when I did the seminar. I'd say, okay, push on my hand, right? Yeah. And I'd be pushing real hard, and they'd be pushing real hard back, right? We'd be good. And then suddenly I would like release the pressure. They just kind of fall towards me. Yeah. I go, that's what we're talking about, right? Suddenly 100%. You release the pressure, right? Yep. So, it works so well. I mean, so you just try to convince people to do it. Start pushing products and price and trying to push people, you know, giving presentations and pushing products down their throat and that sort of thing. That is not the way to real success.
We talked about it earlier with finding a job, but building a customer base, it's all about relationships. Customers will bring you more customers, even if they didn't buy from you. A prospective customer might send you business. I mean, and I always said, especially in the retail world, I would rather not make a dime off you, but have your trust forever than make the sale, make the commission, and you hate me forever. You'll never come back and do business with me ever again.
There you go. And you get people say, look, and you got to close business. You got to bring deals in. Yes, absolutely. In fact, my people around me go, you give too much stuff away. You should be getting paid for all that stuff. It's like, oh, I get what you're saying, right? They get upset with me, get mad at me. Why did you why did you talk to that client for an hour and give away all that great information and not charge them for some? That's what I do, right? But guess what? They come back eventually and they want to do more. It's like it's a bit like the puppy dog close. I guess it's kind of, like we all know what the puppy dog close is.
Absolutely.
Right. Right. So if you don't, go Google it. I won't go through it. But, or if you watch Breaking Bad, like I guess being a crystal meth dealer, or you give them
drug dealing 101.
Right. You give them a little taste and they want more, right? The little taste that you're giving them is your knowledge. You're giving them a little taste of you, which sounds weird, but I'll go with it, right? And then they're going to think about that. They're going to want to come back and do more with you. This is starting to sound really weird as it's coming out of my butt.
Every time, though, right? You're spot on.
Right. So do that. Give of yourself, like when you go to establish a networking relationship, for instance, with an insurance agent, don't go to them and say, hey, I would like to, offer your clients a special 10% off deal on a security system.
Right.
That's going to hit a brick wall
every time.
Period. Right. Because you're trying to sell their clients something. They don't know you from Adam. Right. You're going to get there, but you're missing some steps.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into those steps, but the steps are, you've got to give before you get.
Yep.
And you've got to give without expecting anything in return. When you go and want to sell something with a discount, you're expecting something in return right out of the gate.
Yep.
Give stuff away with no expectation of, or even ask.
Yep.
Don't even say, hey, if I do this for you, would you do this for you? Don't do the quid pro quo stuff out of the gate. Right. You just are saying, look, I've got anyway, that's the lesson, right? Give of yourself, give freely with no expectation of getting anything back.
Yep.
And you'll get something back.
Every time.
Guaranteed. It's coming back. Right.
Every time. It's the crux of salespeople is they want that instant gratification. They want the sale, and the long play. It's almost the tortoise and the hare bullshit. But the guy who plays the long play and builds the relationships and builds the trust is the guy that's still going to be in business. When the other guy's folded up twice over.
Bingo. Exactly. And you got to have the right, to your point earlier about your bosses, right? You've got to have a boss that you also got to be in a culture that understands that and lets you do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, because you're right. If you go out there and say, well, I told him that, you're a sales guy, you're on a sales call. Oh, I told him XYZ was a better choice than us. In their circumstance. Yeah. That's probably not what you want to say in a sales meeting. Well, how come you lost that deal to XYZ? I just told him they should go with XYZ instead of us. You better fully understand what you're doing. Maybe you need a little bit of a track record where you can get away with this stuff. You don't want to just
You need to have some sales under your belt to get away with something like that.
Right. You better make sure you got buy-in from certain people.
But it's funny though, because even in this industry, when I was in the biz dev role, I would sit with prospective partners and say, listen, here's everything that I've got that's going to make you successful. If all you care about is the most sign-on cash, here's the guy you need to call. I've got his phone number. Right. If all you care about is the multiple, here's the guy you got to call. I've got his phone number. But if you want a well-rounded package that's going to bring you up, I'm your guy. And I'll tell you, there were times that they took the higher multiple or they took the sign-on cash, and good for them.
Right. Well, as you're talking, here's another thought that can work really well. People, like when you go to SST, you'll see some of my quote unquote competition is there, right? Like Brian Plant, great guy, has Ignite Security Marketing. He does a lot of what we do. He does websites. Great. He does, by the way, does fantastic work. Does a really nice job. He's got some strengths that I don't have. We don't have. And I think, he'd agree, vice versa in some areas, right?
Yeah.
So what we've done is basically formed a strategic partnership. So we both get it, right? So we're working with a client. We'll say, I think you should use Brian for this piece.
Yeah.
And maybe use us for this piece. And he'll do the same thing, right? So sometimes, weirdly enough, you can go create a strategic alliance with what was formerly a competitor.
Yeah.
And create, if you keep running up against this, well, I think, keep setting, hey, I think you're better for that. I think you're, and they're not doing, but that certain clients they're trying to deal with, you're better for them.
Right.
You might even actually approach a competitor and say, hey, why don't we work together on some of these projects?
100%.
And, right. So within every weird, threat or issue, always look for the opportunity. That's almost always underlying that. Right.
Well, so it's funny you say that, because in my episode, and I've referenced it like 4 times now, but my interview with Chase Harrell, he said, I preface a question of, when I met you, there were 2 of your businesses in the entire industry. And when I left, just in Texas, Oklahoma, there were 10. How do you handle that competition? And his answer was, I love the competition. In fact, we all get together and talk, because if we need something, they probably need something too. And then we go to our vendors and strong arm them together. And I'm like, oh shit,
there you go.
He did that to me.
Yeah. Get off my podcast, you guys. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And a lot of times, the sum is greater than the parts, or whatever that expression is.
Yeah.
Why not? And look for alliances. That's where, again, you can create competitive advantage, like even outside, maybe they're not direct competition, but for instance, like locksmiths are in a way a little bit, you might see them as a competitor. You might see them as a complementary kind of a thing. Right. Well, we don't do locks as a security company. We don't do locks, and we're not really onto that. Okay. Right. Well, what if you had an alliance with a locksmith, right? And you added that and say, hey, we have, and you went in and said, look, we have partnerships with people that do all kinds of security, fencing.
Yep.
I have a client that did gates, that did the solid gates around retail stores. Well, we don't do that. Okay. Well, why not work with somebody that does?
Right.
And then when you go in, you can give them a more complete package, and then they can come in kind of like what we do at 21CM, right? Find people that do that, and then create a competitive advantage by building alliances with folks that you might have considered competition, but might really be complementary to what you're doing.
Yep.
So,
there was a guy I worked with a long time ago who said, be your own BNI group, your Business Networking International.
Right.
You should have somebody's card for anything and everything that somebody throws at you. And hey, I know a guy. Because
there you go.
Whether you're the guy who's giving the solution, or you're the guy who knows the guy who has the solution, you're valuable.
That's right. And not only to the end user, but guess what's going to happen if you're sending business to like an insurance agent?
Right.
Regularly. ABC Alarm sent me. What's that psychologically? What's that kind of pressure is going to put on the insurance? They're going to want to start reciprocating.
Absolutely.
Start sending. Right. And then when you go to them with maybe an idea, and we've got several of them, by the way, in SST that you can use, but by the way, which is completely free, which is another. So get on over there and get the training, because you're not paying anything for
giving away the farm.
So you can't. Right. And you can't yell at me or ask for a refund, because, it's all free. So, but yeah, so many different ways to, and get creative, right? With a little bit of training and knowledge, right? And just, a lot of people it's funny when I talk to clients, and when we get to that stage, we don't do this stuff out of the gate, but the light bulbs come on,
right?
And then they do it,
and
then it's fun, and then it works, and they're, everybody's having a good time, right? Because that's what it's all about. Are we having fun? We're kicking ass, making money. Before you didn't know what the hell to do with your salesperson every day.
Right.
Now he's fully engaged, and you're at the point where you need to hire more people, because you've got so much. It's like, well, we need to go after all this. Yeah, right. Okay, now we need more. We need, to your point, bodies and operation, right? And all
it's a good
the infrastructure. So good problem to have, right? And then it's fun, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I love security. Yes, about I love security because you're helping people too.
Right.
You really are.
Yeah.
Right. And what's better than that? These days, especially,
people either want home security or guns.
Right.
Or both.
or both. Right. Well, there's another potential, alliance. Go.
Yeah.
Hey, if you buy a security system, you get a discount on the Glock.
Jesus Christ, you just hit a gold mine here in Texas.
Right. There you go. Right. Think about it. Right. You can see that right on a security company website. We understand a lot of you want it in self-defense, right? Why not? might go to the local gun stores and say, hey, we're selling security. Can you provide a discount? You know, the folks that have a security system with us, right? Why not? So, you know, it's kind of like brains, you know, we joke, but maybe there's a germ of an idea there in certain markets, you know, where, you know, so that's where it gets fun. You do brainstorming and get creative and go out and try stuff. And what's that cost you?
Right.
It didn't cost you anything. Right. And would that gun shop love to be in touch with all your security clients?
You bet they would.
Well, sure they would. Why wouldn't they? Right. So I see now that's a networking partner I'd never considered before.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm from California. We're all gun control nuts. And, you know, but in Texas, it would probably work fantastic. Right. So
more than you know.
Right. So anyway, so it's a lot of fun, but you chunk it down and start doing stuff, and
so
away you go.
You've said fun probably 50 times in this podcast, and if there was a word that I could describe our handful of interactions thus far, it would be fun. I'm smiling ear to ear every time that we talk.
Thank you, sir.
I'm so thankful that Nicole Brown introduced us and made the referral and made the connection, and that we've gotten to do a couple things together. And I can't speak highly enough of you. And I'm truly looking forward to you know, what more we can do together and take over any industry by storm.
Right.
So Greg, I'll do this. I'll give you a chance to plug anything and everything you want to plug, because you've got a whole litany of them on your LinkedIn.
Well, first of all, I'm going to plug you. Okay. So
stop.
we're going to promote the hell out of this podcast, because I think everybody needs to get over here and you know, listen to this and listen to it more than once. In fact, when I did your video cast, what's nice is when I'm editing those, I get to listen to them again and go through them again. And I pick up new stuff every time. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to plug like your video cast on security-sales-training.com. That's the first place I'm going to send people. And and I'm going to plug SST, not because of me, but because the difference, you know, with SST is that you're getting access and insights from people, not just in the security industry, but from all types of business. And even Eric, he's been outside the security business and wireless and his background. You get to go listen to the pointers that they, and so first place I used to say, go to Security Sales Mastery. Now I'm thinking, as I build this thing, go to the video cast.
Absolutely.
And watch those, right? Because right now there's about 10 hours worth of content up there probably right now. If you took the time to just say, I'm going to listen to an hour, one podcast a week.
Yep.
Right. You would have enough information to really take your business to the next level. Not because of anything I'm saying, but because of the people like Eric that we've had on that program.
Yeah. And
I've learned, which I love about SST, is I've learned so much from you and from everybody else that's been on. It's incredible. So that's the only thing I'm going to pitch, so to speak, is SST. But I will also say, if you need a little help, I want a little help with the. And by the way, if you want to just anybody that even after help gets this far, Jesus, I didn't want to hear that guy's voice again. But if you would, feel free to get in touch. We do things like free website audits and just kind of have conversations about where people are at. And I'm happy to provide any insights I can provide at no charge at all.
Yep.
Happy to chat with folks. So come on over, and I'd love to, if I haven't already met you, I'd love to meet you.
I love it, man. I will tell you, one of my goals. So, almost daily, I write a short-term goal. 3 short-term goals, 3 long-term goals. And it's funny because the last few times I've done it, and I've been a little lazy on quarantine, but it was right after you put that video cast up. And one of my short-term goals was, I want my headshot next to Jake Voll and Nicole Brown and all these other folks on your website, because I've never had that before. So
there you go.
I'm manifesting that shit. Now I'm going to Jewish guilt you or Catholic guilt you into doing it. But
no, I'm glad you said that, because again, on SST, we're evolving this thing, and we're going to talk more about this, but they have video casts is viewed from 30,000 foot stuff, which is good. And there's a lot of content you can do right away. It's supposed to be actionable, but like, we're going to work together on courses. Yep. Like you're going to be a adjunct professor on SST, right? We're going to have all of our faculty on a page, right? And even what I want to have on the homepage is everybody's headshot. So here's who's inside here, right? It's like, go and you'll have a course, and you're going to talk you have a whole course on personal branding.
Yeah.
Which that's really what I want to work on. One of the things I want to work on with you, and you can say what you want to work on, but
Yeah.
I think the whole personal branding thing is so critically important,
100%.
almost above everything else. Right. But how to do so yeah, absolutely. So as we push this thing forward, like you said, let's go. We can tackle whatever we want. We'll go do classic cars.
Yeah.
And we'll do bikes, right? So we'll be like the dynamic duo.
Yeah.
We'll go like, take over industry you want.
World's our oyster.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
So I will put all of your companies and your LinkedIn profile and you've referenced some different books and different quotes in here. I'm going to put it all into the episode notes. So that anybody can go back and click any of those links and check it out. I will say that your training website in the short period of time that I've dabbled in it is absolutely phenomenal, and it's free. You're literally giving away the farm, and I can't say enough about it. So, thank you. Just thank you. I mean, literally, we've known each other a month, and I absolutely adore you. So, and
well,
go ahead.
Mutual.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Since you've seen my podcast, you know that I have outro music. I don't even have to explain it to you, which is nice. I had to explain it to my mom and my best friend.
By the way, I was a little irritated with you earlier because I was listening to the podcast and I got that stuck in my head, like one of those songs that you just can't. And I know that's by design, and that's really good personal branding, because if you get a little intro music, that you suddenly find yourself humming, all day.
That's the musician in me. I'll tell you this. So every time I put it on Facebook, I put an episode up on Facebook, Universal Music Group takes it down, and they say that I'm stealing their stuff. And I've cut and sampled and chopped, and I took a lot of things and made something new. And it was funny because they've pulled every single video down, and every single time I dispute it and I say this was a creation of sampling and stealing, but it's a new product. And then the last episode I uploaded, they take it down in the dispute, because here's the thing: they have 14 days to respond to the dispute, so it sits there unviewable on Facebook for 14 days. Oh, wow. And so the last one, I said, listen, here's all the dispute numbers. I've claimed this every time. You've agreed every time. If you do this again, I'm going to get my lawyer involved. It's harassment, which is a bluff. I don't have legal counsel.
It always is, but still, they don't want to take the chance.
13 and a half days later, I get a notification from Facebook that says, UMG has released your dispute. And in the notes, it says, we're sorry.
Good. Okay. There you go.
So I'm curious to see if this one will finally go up. Cause if you notice, everything I do, I'm posting the YouTube link with it, because everything else seems to get taken down.
Yeah. It's funny real quick. So I had a friend of mine who was having a dispute with a car dealership, right?
Yeah.
She was trying to get a car back to them, and they wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
And so finally, she sent him a threatening letter. I said, okay, so here's what you're going to do. At the bottom, you're going to put CC Greg Rankin, Esquire. You're not going to say anything about lawyers in the copy, but at the bottom, it's say CC Greg Rankin, Esquire.
Yep.
Which means a lawyer, right? So guess what? Boom. All right. We're good.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was just jotting down a note earlier today of a topic for a solo episode about why do you have to get angry to get good customer service? Because over the last 2 weeks, my internet has been down, and I've been going back and forth with the ISP, and they had sent multiple technicians. It wasn't getting resolved. Techs weren't showing up for the follow-up appointments. And it got to the point, I don't like to rage tweet, and I rage tweeted the company, which they didn't even respond to that until today, and it got resolved 2 days ago. But I've just been sitting here festering on it. It's like, why do you have to get angry and get vocal and publicly shame someone before you get good customer service, or you get redemption for the bad customer service? Like, why isn't it just good customer service right out of the gate?
Right. I know it's mind boggling too, like for all the reasons that we already talked about, but also, again, I always think huge opportunity. Like if I was
100%,
right. Because you're so annoyed now with that ISP. If somebody come along and said, hey, and they're seeing you rage tweet, right,
Yeah.
against these, right?
Yeah.
I would be putting you into my CRM and going, hey, and showing you all my testimony, right, and hit you up. So this is pretty fundamental stuff, because the great thing about social media, like real quick, it's another whole thing, but I'm in a group that Jake Wohl set up, right? And he'd be the first thing to say it. It's on, by the way, go check out Jake Wohl's Facebook. So for Burglar Alarms Online, I think it is.
Yeah.
And but anyway, we got into this whole thing about customer contact, and I had a bunch, and I said, you guys need to be, you guys keep in touch with your clients or emergency contacts. They came back kind of raging at me. I'm not doing that for the same thing. They might cancel, or they might yell at me, or they might, have a problem.
Right.
And they're putting that out there in a Facebook group.
No.
Well, and their competition's there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, guys, think about this for just a nanosecond, right? What am I, if I was working in your market area and you're actually out there I don't want to talk to my customers because they're pains in my ass.
Right.
What am I doing next? I'm going to go talk to your customers, right? Because they're not getting taken anyway.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's
that is
mind-boggling.
low hanging fruit.
That's what I'm saying. There's a ton of information out there. You just have to go pick it.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, and float them into your CRM, and there you go.
Yep.
Like there's no reason for any salesperson to be bored and not know what to do with themselves. There's something right there. Go start picking them up. So,
all you have to do is open your eyes and look around, and you will see opportunity everywhere. Regardless of what you're selling, what you're doing, the opportunity is literally everywhere you look.
Regardless of what, to your point, because good customer service, good selling, good listening skills, good putting other people first, good, giving is almost non-existent.
Yep.
Right. If you do those basic fundamental things, the sky's the limit. You'll go without doing anything else.
Every time.
Right. Every time. So anyway, on that, I should shut up because we're almost at 2 hours. Holy
No,
I warned you.
I told you, I love good, loose, long form conversation, and you can attest that literally the bullet points I sent you, I think I sent 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bullet point number 5 was whatever the hell else you want to talk about.
Well, yeah, that was your downfall.
But so actually, I do have one more question before we wrap up, because I have failed miserably with my mom, my best friend, and Chase. I want to get outside of my own circle of people that I speak with on this podcast. So.
Sorry, hold on a second. I just got a battery low. Please charge now from my speakers. Sorry.
Oh God.
Hold on a second. I know. I hate when that happens.
And we're back.
There we go. We're back.
So
sorry, man. I heard you failed miserably. I like that part.
Yeah, I failed miserably at asking them for who they know that they think would be a great fit for the podcast, because I want to get outside of my own circle of people I know. I want to, don't get me wrong. It's great talking to people I already have rapport with and I already know and understand, but I want to, just like you, I want the adventure and the experiences and the exploring of people I've never met before that have done shit I've never done before. So no pressure, Greg. Who would you recommend next?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, I got a lot of people coming to mind, but if you want somebody that's outside, the security industry, or does it matter?
Let's go outside the security industry. Let's do it.
Okay. So there's a guy, his name is Brian Silverthorne.
Okay.
I've worked with forever. And when I need advice or I need to talk to somebody, Brian's the guy, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm your warm, safe spot." Go, right. So, but he's an entrepreneur from the word go. He used to be a swimmer. Anyway, great guy. I think I would nominate Brian.
Perfect.
If you
make the connection, we'll make it happen. Absolutely.
I will absolutely do. I think you're really good. So enjoy each other. So yeah, let me. I'll send an email to. I'll talk to him. I'll send an email to both of you, and you can take it from there.
Perfect.
In fact, Brian's on the video cast. He's one of the first video casts. I think he's the second one I did. If you want to go check him out,
I absolutely will.
An SST. So okay, that's a great question though. Yeah, who's next? It's getting a
Yeah. Well, I'm making every guest my booking agency.
I think that's a great idea. God, I'm using that. Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
That's a good idea. God, I'm a dumbass.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Greg, thank you so much. This again, I absolutely adore you. This has been an amazing conversation. I've enjoyed literally all 1 hour and 55 minutes of it. I absolutely see a future episode in your future. If you're listening, A, thank you for making it all the way to the end. B, check out the episode notes and see all things that Greg does and can provide to you and your business or you as an individual salesperson. And on that note, I'm Eric Hattie. That's Greg Rankin. This is Everyday Hustle. And I promise the next one won't suck. Wait, is it over? It's over. Oh shit. Holy shit. You made it all the way to the very end. Guys, thank you so much for watching Everyday Hustle. I appreciate you guys coming back for more. It means the absolute world to me. If you guys could do me a huge favor, click the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up on this video, maybe even throw a comment in there. I wouldn't be mad. And over here, watch the next video because I promise it won't suck.